to be, it happens to be that when I was learning Hilchos Ribbis with Rabbi Reese, this comes up, and what Rav Aaron was very critical of it. But Rabbi Reese, it's like you have it like water, like you drink water. It's all the time. A heter iska. So heter iska is a document that would allow Jews to pay interest. So even though ribis is usser, there's a few steps to the heter iska, but they make it that it's partially a partnership. But when it's a partnership, it's less of a problem. But you still do it anyway. But you would even in certain type of loan situations, the heter iska works by making it a partial loan and a partial partnership. So from the partnership perspective, you're promising them a certain thing, and from the loan perspective, you're not paying any but like from the partnership thing, you're gonna guarantee them 8% a year or whatever, let's say. And then from the loan part, you're not paying them any interest on the loan. So that's the way it goes around it. Ravaron in a share from 1979, maybe it was, that I was listening to. He said the whole thing is a farce. It's each step is based on something you can't rely on. And then he said something about when someone said something to Moshe Feinstein about it in Yiddish. So I don't know what the point was, but I think someone said they walked into Bank Leumi or something, and there was a sign that says all transactions are done with the heter iska. But if you don't sign one with each particular customer, it doesn't work anyway. So it was in that context where someone mentioned something to Moshe Feinstein, and he mentioned Moshe Feinstein's response in Yiddish. Uh, Ravarn was an attorney also, but he didn't think that the heter iska was really solving any problems, whereas the RCA based in at CRC, they use it all the time. It's so crazy that when I say maybe not literally crazy, but it's to such a degree that Rabbi Reese said that there were people who didn't make the heter iska, and then they said in the middle, oh, we meant to do it. Can we retroactively do it? So it's not so simple for that case, according even with the premise that you could make it, but they made some workarounds. I remember offhand, but I mean I remember him discussing it in the Hilchos Ribbis.
Yeah, Saul Binder, who owned Bank Financial, which then got bought out,
Hmm.
where I had my mortgage for a while. He had some sort of agreement with the CRC. I don't know what.
Okay.
Because he had like,
Did you sign something special about it?
I don't recall.
Because it's hard to imagine that unless the two parties themselves would sign a document that there wouldn't be some master document or whatever they call it that would work without a specific agreement between the two people.
Yeah. Well, when you sign for a mortgage, you sign so
You
many
signed so many,
documents.
right?
I don't know what I signed.
Right. That's true.
It's funny.
One in Hebrew, huh?
Well, the first mortgage I had was with a Jewish person.
Well, they could make it in English with how and how.
Yeah, the first one was a little different. I had it with the Pope brothers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Which
What was your interest rate back then?
it was
How many points?
6%. Oh, it was like 0 points.
Oh, 0 points.
It was crazy.
Well, 0 points was good, right?
You had to, yeah, of course.
Right.
All you had to do was you had to know something.
Oh, okay.
Sandy's uncle was a manager.
Oh, okay. So you got 0 points.
So I was all worried, I had all, the people to put down and they didn't care.
That's good.
Yeah, it was great, but they never would renegotiate a loan as the interest rates come down. I mean, they were honest. They
Mhm.
said, we don't do that.
Okay. I mean, if they're upfront with you, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Totally. So that's when I went to Bank Financial.
Okay. I mean, like I had a guy once. I called him. I need to talk to someone about something important. He's a guy out of town, and he says, "I don't listen to my voicemail, so don't bother leaving a voicemail." So okay, so I know that he's not going to listen to get it. I have to call a few more times, but that honesty is okay. So we're at the bottom of Tzadi Dalet Amud Aleph. There's two lines, so it's the third line up from the very bottom. So the the very last point that we had spoken about, Larry said, came up in tax law, and this was when there were two partners or two yorshim, and one person who had a claim against the estate had taken one of the yorshim or one of the partners to based in, and the partner lost, or the yoresh, the heir lost. So the Gemara was discussing, can the other yoresh or the other partner who wasn't part of the din Torah said that if I would have had a better claim and I would have won my case if he would have taken the case against me. So just because you lost, that's not going to make me incur a loss. And so we spoke about at the end, the Gemara says, so that's only true. Um, that so we would respect that claim that if the other Yoresh would have been there, he would have been believed. That's only if he was out of town. But if he was in town, he can't use it as an excuse because he should have gotten involved and not waited till it lost and then say, "Oh, I could have done it." If he's in town, um, he should have come in and made the claim. So now on Tzadi 94A3, the second paragraph. So this is and we're talking about where everything is dated at the same time. So we split the wives split everything equally. If you have two documents that both have the same date on them and it's not in Yerushalayim, so it doesn't say an hour. We don't know which one happened first. So remember that when we have in Yerushalayim, that besides for writing the date, they wrote the time. So we would know that the one that happened first, if one happened at 10 a.m. and one happened at 2 p.m., so the one who this document for the loan that happened at 10 p.m. That's collectible first, and if the guy with the document from 2 p.m. he's second in line because his document is dated later. So if it's not in Yerushalayim, so we don't know which one was first. They're both dated the same day. So even Machlokos Amoraim, what happens? Rav Amar Cholkim, so Rav says they split it 50-50, meaning the property that they could seize. We can't say that this one has a precedence in collection over the other one. Ushmuel Amar Shuda Dedaini, and Shmuel says it's at the discretion of the Dayanim. So I think we mentioned earlier that there's Machlokas Rishonim about Shuda Dedaini. Some say that it's like it's something that can't be undone. The judge gets to use his absolute discretion what would be the best outcome in this case. Whereas some Rishonim say Shuda Dedaini is they try to have to put themselves in the shoes of in this case the guy who took out the loans, who is now, well, no, this guy's alive in this case, and try to figure out which person's star happened first. Again, once the judge decides it, though, then there's no, because it's not based on halachic reasons, based on what the judge thought happened, so that you can't really change it once it happened. And there's Gemara in Kedushin that says that Shuda Dedaini can't be rectified, or once the judgment happened, it can never be changed because there's you can't say it was based on a halachic reason. And then the judge later, you can't ask the Dayan, well, what were you thinking then to decide it? He can't necessarily get himself in the same exact frame of mind to remember every detail of why he decided it that way. Whereas when it's based on halacha, sources can be, you can recreate the sources to figure out how you got a certain psat. So Lema de Rav Damar Krabi Meir Damar Edechasima Karsi. So let's say that Rav, who says you split it 50-50, holds like Reb Meir, who holds in regard to a get that. So there's a big machlokas, a fundamental machlokas in Gittin, and I think we saw this here recently in the past 18 blot or so somewhere, that a get is signed on it. But Rabbi Elazar's opinion is that we only have signatures on the get for Tikkun Olam, but the main Adam whose testimony makes the get take place. Now, a get and a divorce, a kedushin and a get are a little different than let's say a loan document, in that the way I think Reb Chaim said it was that the kedushin and get need Eidei Kiyum Hadavar. We need Adam to say that it took place. So um, it's not necessarily that we need the Edom to testify, and because we have testimony about it, that it happened. It happened because it was done in presence of the witnesses. That makes it that it was done legally. Whereas alone, if you wouldn't have any witnesses, you wouldn't necessarily have any loan actually took place without I mean, unless if one guy's denying the whole thing, it's just one against one, and there's nothing you could do. So, but in a get, which set of Edom are the ones that make the get effective? So Rabbi Meir holds it's the ones who sign on the get. Rabbi Elazar holds that it's the ones who see it being given over. Now, most of the times in Arbat Dinim, especially if the parties are both there, it's the same group of Edom who sign the get and who witness it being handed over to the woman. If it wouldn't be done on the same day, so when the get is written up, the husband would we would write a harsha, which is some type of an agency document saying that a shliach of the Beis Din, someone who the Beis Din appoints, would act in place of the woman, and he would literally put his hand out like the woman, and the husband would say, "I am making you my agent to deliver the get to my wife wherever she is. Your hand is like my hand. If you want to make a witness, you can make a witness, and if that witness, I mean, an agent, you can make an agent to deliver it, and that agent can make an agent up to 100 agents." And when my wife, as soon as it gets into my wife's hands, she is divorced and free to remarry whoever, and free to get remarried. And then this agent will receive the get, and then we write a harsha, which is a document of agency attesting to the fact that this happened, and it's signed by the witness, that these witnesses saw it, and it's signed by the dayanim, and then the Beis Din will keep it till the woman comes, or sometimes they'll send it out of town to a different Beis Din, and then that Beis Din will deliver it to the wife. So in that case, obviously the people who signed the get aren't necessarily, especially if you send it out of town, it's not going to be the same people who signed the get. But this is where the first mission in Gittin, that if someone brings a get from Medina Sayyam, from outside of Eretz Yisrael, they have to say b'fanei nachtav or b'fanei nachtam. So when the shliach would be giving it, he has to say b'fanei nachtav or b'fanei nachtam. It was written in front of me and signed in front of me. That's a very important principle. The whole beginning of Gittin's about that, and until you go to a Beis Din, you'll see that it actually happens. You see someone do it. You see that the Gemara, it's a real halacha. And so when a Beis Din, let's say, would overnight it to a different thing, they would have signature cards, and they'll poke a hole in certain places in the get on a certain line over a certain letter, and they'll send that either separately, because now we could have email, and tell them the thing we sent you, meaning in those days that was the simon, like using a hologram or something nowadays, which we work from a technology standpoint, like our checks have these the heat thing, you press the so halacha doesn't necessarily, the simanim they had in time of the Gemara, you poke a hole with a needle in a certain place, and so that's the sign that it was a certain thing. Or we say that the eighth line has no long letters or tall letters, like a nun that goes down or a lamed that goes up. They would communicate that to the receiving Beis Din, just to show that the document that they received is authentic and not a forgery. Whatever. So I mean, it's interesting. It's not our topic right now, but Lema Rav the Amar Rabbi Meir. So let's say that Rav, who says, shall have it. Don't rip that, please. That Rav, who says that the two parties split it 50-50 because we don't know who was first, would hold that Ede Chasima Karsi, the Edom who sign it are what, in the case of Karsi, means they cut, like the word kares, you get cut up. So Karsi, they cause the break in the marriage between the husband and the wife. So meaning that's when the get takes effect. It's based on the signature. And as we turn to Tari Dal and Rebbeis, Ushmuel Amar Krabi Lazar Dama Edom Masira Karsi, and Shmuel here, who holds that the Dayan can choose, he hold Edom Masira Karsi. So it seems that the assumption is that, according what the Gemara is saying right here, is maybe both shtaros were signed at the same time. I mean, obviously one had to be signed a second before the other one, but let's say, now. Thank you. Um, Maybe I'm understanding this wrong, but one way that it's thought to explain is that let's say they were signed at the same time, or boom boom. So even if they would have been in Yerushalayim, they would have been had the same hour on them, which I don't know what the halach would be in that case. If you had two stars in Yerushalayim and they both said 11 o'clock, but clearly one had to be given over before the other, right? So I don't know what the halacha would be in that case. We have to see what the Rishonim and the Nosei say about that. But in those days also that you didn't necessarily write shtaros out yourself, but there was a community had a sofer to write documents when they were needed. You would write it at the same time, have it signed at the same time, and then later in the day he went to Shmerel's business or house to give him his document, and then he went to Chaim Pipik's house to give him his document. So one of them had to be first. So I think maybe that's you could say that's what the Gemara is saying. So Rav holds like Reb Meir, Eidech Hasim Akarsi, they're at the same time, basically. So you split it 50-50. But Shmuel, who says the Dayan gets to choose it first, he holds it happens to Eidim Masira. So it really would happen to when the star actually got handed over to the person. So the Dayan would have to see who would he have given it over first. So maybe the Shuda Didani might be where did he get it written up? Where was this guy's house? Where was that guy's house? Where was the bearer of the staros? What path would he have taken based on his schedule of the day? I'm just saying maybe that could have been some of the elements that could have gone into a Shuda Dedaini thing, and he would have said that Chaim Pipik got it first and Shmerel got it second. So Shmerel would be second in line to collect because Chaim Pipik probably received the star earlier. So the Gemara says, "Lo, Dekuliyama Rabbi Lazar." Everyone holds like Rabbi Lazar that it depends on that the Adam who see it the getting given over is what makes the star work. So then what's machos between Rav and Shmuel about if according to Rav we don't know which one's first, so they split it 50-50, and Shmuel says one of them has to be first, so the Dayan gets to choose and shoot the Daini. Rav sabar chaluk adifa. Rav said the better way the more equitable or fair way to when I use the word equitable, I don't mean in the way that's used since 2020, but the fairer way to do it would be just be split at 50-50. Ushmuel sever shooted the Dani defense. Shmuel says having the Dayan use his discretion to try to figure out which one would have taken first, that's the fairer way to do it. And I might find out from something I say that the idea of fair isn't necessarily fair, but it has to do with Yasher, V'sisa Yasher Vatov. We want to do what's upright and good. Umi matis mukim play to Rebelazar. Umi matis mukam play Rav Rebelazar. Can we hold that Rav hold like Rebelazar? The Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Halachik Rebelazar begitten. Rav says halachas like Rebelazar forgetting that Ada Masira affect the get. Ki Amrisa kamei de Shmuel. But when someone said over the halacha of Rabbi Yehuda in front of Shmuel, Amar af b'shtaros. Shmuel said that we also pass with Rabbi Lazar and shtaros that it depends to Eda Masira when the witnesses who see it giving over. Mechlal the Rav saber b'shtaros lo, which would imply that Rav holds in shtaros we don't pass it. And what the Gemara is trying to say right here is that Rav holds in shtaros we pass in Eda Masira, but we have an explicit. Well, it's not explicit, but a very strong inference from this incident that Rabbi Lazar, that Rav only agrees with Rabbi Lazar for Gittin, but not for other shtaros of monetary cases. So I mean, there are monetary stuff related to the get. We know we're learning about the Kesuvos right now, but but regular loan documents are choshen mishpat halachos. They're halachos about who owes who. And the star of a get has to do with are you married or not? It's not a choshen mishpat problem. It's an Even Ezer, a different section of Shulchan Aruch, and it's isurim. It's like it's not exactly like it was this piece of chicken salted properly, or was this chicken but did it have a hole through its stomach and it's a treifa? But it's more similar to those types of isurim than it is to choshen mishpat shtaros. So Ela Mechavarta, Rav Kamerer, Shmuel Rebelazar. So we have to say our original. We have to say like our original explanation that. Let's see if this is what you want. Do you want this? You want this? And Shmuel holds like Rabbi Lazar. Okay, Mesave. Question against Shmuel. Shnei shtar sayotim biyomachad cholkim. Tufta de Shmuel. There's a brisa that says if two documents had the same date on them, we split it 50-50. We can't say that one person has precedence in collection from the guy's property over the other guy. So that would be a disproof to Shmuel, because that's exactly like Rav's opinion, that you split it 50-50. According to Shmuel, the Dayan could use his discretion to decide who would get it. So Amrucha Shmuel would say, Hamani Rabbi Meir he. Shmuel will say the author of that brisa is Rabbi Meir. So of course Rabbi Meir will hold Cholkim, because he would hold Eidei Chasima Karsi. V'anada Amri Rabbi Lazar, but my opinion is based on Rabbi Lazar, who's not the author of that brisa. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Meir, if this brisa is like Rabbi Meir, I have to tell you the rest of the brisa. It doesn't seem to fit the last part of the brisa. Ema Seifa, the last part of the brisa says, Kasav la'achad u'masr la'acher. If you wrote a star to one person, but in the end, you gave it to a different person. So meaning you were going to sell this to Ruvain. Instead, you sold it to Shimon. Then you had already made a star to sell it to Ruvain, but you never gave it over. The person who it was given to, so Shimon, who actually received it, he acquires it. Rabbi Meir, but if this brisa went according to Rabbi Meir holds Eda Masira are irrelevant. It happens to be who signed it. And in this case, there was first a fully executed, except for the fact that it wasn't given over, a regular star that had been written over. So why does the second person get to keep the land? According to Rabbi Meir, Eidei Chasima, this first one was signed first, so Reuven should be the recipient of the sale of this land. Amai Kana, why does the second person acquire the land? Amar Eidei Chasima Karsi, because Rabbi Meir says Eidei Chasima Karsi. So the second part of the brisa shows that we can't be talking about Rabbi Meir's opinion. So Tanaihi, the Gemara says there is a machlokas rishonim about this. The Tanya, because we learned in a different brisa that it's a case where someone was supposed to give money to someone, and Lahavdil, I mean, imagine Israel. Oh, you're going to Israel. Could you take a package for me? So here, someone was going somewhere else. They said, could you give this gift, whether it was an actual gift or whether it was a star of a gift? No, it was actual money. So he went, and when he went there, he found that the guy had already died. So then you would bring the money back to the person who had sent it. And then that person had also died. So the question is, would the giver wanted it to go to the heirs of the recipient, or once the recipient himself was dead, the gift was only for him. The sender didn't care about the heirs of the person receiving it. So who would get the money in this case? The Chachamim say yachloku. You split the money 50-50 between the giver's yorshim and the recipient's yorshim. So that would kind of be the opinion. It's not the same case, but it follows the logic of Rav. The Chanamrun in Bavel, we said, Mashi Yirta Hashalish Yasa. The person who was the delivery man, the delivery person. Now it wasn't UPS. It was you personally knew someone and you said, "Can you bring this?" So that person, he can decide if the original giver would have wanted it to go back to his own family, or if he would have wanted it to go to the recipient's family. So there is an opinion. The opinion says Mashi Yirtza Hashalish, even though that wasn't the Shuda Didaini of the Dayanim, but because it's given up, it's given to him to decide. So we see there is a Shitas Tanaim that fits with Shmuel. So even though a bunch of brisos that we found don't fit with Shmuel, but we find a brisa that fits with Shmuel. Ime Drami Bar Chama, Kasvino lenichse Rami bar Chama b'tzafra. Rami bar Chama's mother wrote him a star that her property would go to him, to Rami bar Chama in the morning, and Laorsa, and then in the afternoon, Kasvinhu Lamar Ukva bar Chama. And later in the day, she sent it to a different one of her sons. She wrote a star saying that all her stuff was to go to Mar Ukva bar Chama. So each one had a star that the property was theirs. And then she died, and each one had a star. And this one saying, Rami bar Chama saying, this stuff's mine. And Mar Ukva bar Chama saying, this stuff's mine. So As Rami bar Chama kamed Rav Sheshes. Rami bar Chama went to Rav Sheshes for Din Torah Ukme benichsa. He let Rami bar Chama become the owner. Also, Mar Ukva kamed Rav Nachman. Mar Ukva went to a different dayan to Rav Nachman, and he said Ukme benichsa. And Rav Nachman put Mar Ukva as the holder of the property. So we had two different Dinei Torah, and they came to different conclusions for different owners. This is a big, unfortunately, yeah. So also Rav Sheshes Kamed Rav Nachman, Rav Sheshes, who said that the son for whom it was received it in the morning, went to the other Dayan, who said that the other son from the afternoon gets it. Amarle, my time avid marhachi. Why did you do this? He spoke in the third person. Mar Amarle. So Rav Nachman said, "Oh, my time avid marhachi. So why did you give it to Rabbi Bar Chama?" Amarle, Rav Shesha says, "Dekadim, because he got the star first. Because in the morning because Rabbi Bar Chama told me that he got in the morning, and Mar Ukva said he got in the afternoon. So clearly, even though they're dated on the same day, one came first. The one in the morning gets it. Amarle." Rav Nachman says, are we living in Yerushalayim that they wrote the hour of the day on the star? We don't have it. So just because he got it first doesn't mean that it's really his. So Elamar, my time of Hachi. So Rav Shesha says, so why did you paskin that way? I'm telling you why I paskin. What's the reason that you paskin that? So I agree, Yerushalayim, it's not Yerushalayim. So maybe you should hold Yachloku. Let them split it 50-50 if they're dated the same day. How come you gave the whole thing to the other brother, Mar Ukva? So Amarle, Rav Nachman said, Shuda Dedaini, I used my discretion to decide who I thought the mother would have wanted to give it to. Amarle, Ananami Shuda Dedaini. So he said, okay, so let me say that my reason is Shuda Dedaini. So how come your Shuda Dedaini is better than my Shuda Dedaini? Let my Shuda Dedaini stand. Amarle, Rav Nachman said, Chada Dana Daino Marlav Daina. He said, I'm an official judge, and you're not an official judge. I have authority of the Reish Galusa, and Rashi says the Reish Galusa gave him authority, and the yeshiva, I guess from Padisa, I don't know if it would be so, but they gave me authority to judge, and I'm not saying that you're not qualified, but you're not an official appointed judge like I am. So my psak would hold more weight. The ode, and the second reason may kara lav b'toras hachi asisle. Also, you really didn't use Shuda Dedaini. You told me what you based it on. And then only after I said I use Shuda Dedaini, you said, oh, why don't I say Shuda Dedaini? So that really wasn't your reason. Hanu trei shtari da also kamed Rav Yosef. So then there was a different incident where two shtaros came to Rav Yosef. They were Chad Havi Kasv Chamsha ben Nisan. One was dated the 5th day of Nisan, Vachad Kasv Bei Nisan Stama, and one just said in the month of Nisan. So, and this was to sell the field. So the first star was dated 5th of Nisan. The second one just says Nisan. So was it on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th of Nisan, and therefore that guy would have really be the owner of the field? Or was it the 6th through the end of the month? Now, obviously on Yom Tov, you couldn't sell it. So who's the owner? And I don't know if it's significant to say we don't use probability, but I guess b'mamon ein holchen achar arov. There is a general principle in for monetary matters, we don't follow rov. For your idea, for the chicken, we could follow Rove. What's the majority of cases? In money, we don't. So even though we could say the majority of the days would have indicated that the guy with the fifth of Nissan is earlier, because if it just said Nissan, odds are, was it before the fifth of the month or after the fifth of the month? Well, was it done in the first 4 days of the month or the last 24 or 25 days of the month? The odds are it would have been in the last 24 days of the month because it's more time to do business. But we don't follow Rove in monetary matters. So Ukme Rav Yosef lahu decham shebenisan benachasim. So Rav Yosef said that the real owner of the field is the one whose star was dated the 5th of Nisan. Amalei Idach, so then the other party said, Vana Afsid, should I lose out? Because really mine was before the 5th. Amalei, Rav Yosef says, At Yadach al Tachtona, you have a worse claim. Ema bar Esenu Chabanisanat. I could have said that yours was on the 29th of Nisan. Amalei, so then the person said, V'nichtov limar, can you write me tirfa me'ir ve'elach? Can I get a document that I could get it starting from ER at least? So let's say in case something happens, if there was a different, if there's someone else would have engaged with this other guy in some business deal, let me get a date that I could definitely seize from ER. Amarle, Rav Yosef says, no, I don't need to read that. I don't need to give you that because Yachli Lemeimar Lach. The people could say to you, At Bechad Benisan At. You could have been from the first day of Nisan. And so the other, so really, so it seems to be saying that right now I'm saying the other guy is the property, but if there'd be some dispute down the road, you would have enough authority or to say that that yours was the one dated first, and the other guy has your property without unlawfully. So my takante. So what should this guy do? The one who's had the star that just said Nisan didn't say the date. Nirtiv harshala hadadi. So what it's saying here is that if so, there was one guy whose star was dated the 5th of Nisan. One guy was just dated Nisan. Let's say there was a third party who also wanted to. So this guy, regular Nissan, he wanted to get the field from Mr. 5th of Nissan. And let's say there was another party who was owed money from this other person's estate. So what Mr. Plain Nissan and this third party should say, one of us deserves this. So they should write, one of them should write a harsha to the other one. So a harsha, I mentioned this a few minutes ago. So harsha is a document of agency, letting one be the agent of the other to collect my debt for me. So since one of us, we feel one of us, this belongs to one of us, we'll join forces because each of us by ourselves don't have a strong enough claim to get this field, but together we do. So we'll work together. One of us will be the agent for the other. We'll take it from this other guy with the date of the 5th Nisan, and so Rashi doesn't say, but I guess in that case they would decide if they join forces, either they'll split it 50-50 or they'll make an agreement of how they fit. So at least each of them will get something, and both of them won't be out of luck because if each of them works by themselves, they're not going to be able to seize. But together, they will have authority to take it. So I guess they will. I guess they'll decide to split 50-50 or some other way. Okay, we'll leave it here.